Welcome to Latter-day Miracles, where we share true stories of angels and marvels.
Get ready to enjoy accounts from everyday people that remind us of divine love, that we're never truly alone, and the power of faith in these latter days. I'm Haley Hatch Freeman.
And I'm Misty Smith. Sit back, open your heart, and prepare to be inspired.
Welcome to Latter-day Miracles. Today, we are so excited to welcome Neil Millman. He has some amazing stories, and I know they're going to touch your heart, and they're very tender stories. And we have been excited to have him ever since I was introduced to him. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to Misty to read his bio, and then we'll let him begin his stories.
Okay. So Neil Millman is an intrepid world traveler who has lived in 10 states and 10 countries, having traveled for over 30 years through 65 countries. He was born in Massachusetts in 1952 and moved with his family to Utah in 1961. They later moved to Carson City, Nevada, where he lived for 10 years and began hitchhiking around North America. He served his LDS mission in New York City, then attended BYU and earned a bachelor's in geography. Afterwards, he spent 20 years working his way around the world. In 2000, the Lord revealed to Neil that his purpose in life is to rescue street children. Having already lived for 2 years in Colombia, Neil was familiar with the plight of street kids and was eager to return there. He created Love at Work as a nonprofit organization. On his first overland journey to Colombia, Neil was robbed of $800 on a bus in Guatemala City and had to change his plans. That change led directly to meeting his Mexican born wife in Provo, Utah. They were married and subsequently spent every year conducting humanitarian projects in Mexico and Colombia. The projects involved helping shelters, orphanages, clinics, soup kitchens, and conducting projects in shanty towns in Mexico City and in Tijuana. Margarita is a pediatric dental assistant who organized 4 dental projects in Mexico City. Rather than having children of their own, the Millmans have served as proxy parents to hundreds of children and their single mothers. A big part of Neil's advocacy involves children learning how to be self reliant and becoming community leaders. Neil has taken over 150 students and family volunteers on his humanitarian projects in Mexico. Currently, he and Margarita are planning on doing a Christmas program for the kids and institutions in Tijuana this year. Wow, that's incredible. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, Neil, where would you like to lead us with that?
Well, the one thing that makes me different from 99.9% of the world is that I'm an avid traveler, intrepid traveler. As they say, I've been all over. I get off the beaten track. I've never had much money to travel as a tourist. So, as they say, as a teenager, I had a hitchhike and I had to experience the world. So, uh, I always had this feeling like God would watch out for me. I wouldn't get in any serious problems. Not that I was really active in the church when I was younger, but I just had this faith that God would always protect me. He always has. Now, later on, when I was about 40 something, then things started to turn around. I started to have some bad experiences and I got robbed, I got mugged, I got injured, which taught me that I'm not invulnerable to danger, but I have to travel on faith, take precautions, and so on and so forth. So, the story I'm going to relate to today is one of many stories that has a very divine aspect to it. Uh, but I relate it because prior to that time, I had done many journeys in different countries, basically very safe. But then I started to have some of these bad experiences. And so when I embarked on this particular journey through Mexico and Guatemala on my way to Colombia, I was at a bus station where I happened to be there when these 2 girls from France were robbed. It really scared me in a way. It really hurt me in a way because I know what it's like to be robbed far from home, to be in a country far away from home. And it's a very scary thing. And so um, to set up the story, I have to give a little bit of background information. Uh, so as I say in the bio, in 2000 is when I had a really divine manifestation. The Lord clearly indicated that with my knowledge, experience, and my love for people, I should be helping street kids. They're the most vulnerable people. They're the ones who have a future ahead of them. It can either go well or it can go terribly. And so I'm very fortunate to be in a position where I can intercede for children who don't have the advantages that so many of us Americans have,
Absolutely.
and a way to get to them early in life so they can make critical decisions and get the resources they need. I think education is vital.
Right.
They don't always have access to formal education. So my wife and I are helping to implement a program called preventive education in Mexico City. It helps. Anyway, but the story I'm going to tell goes before I even met my wife. I hadn't even met her yet. It was just like almost 2 months before I met her. So I was still single. I was uh, 49. I was about to turn 50. So
Okay.
half a century, still unmarried with no prospects. And I've been searching for years and years without any success and actively searching. Latin America, Mexico, Colombia, other countries, and nobody was fitting the bill, right? So I came to that point in life where I had to pray to know what my purpose in life was. I fasted, prayed. Um, and at that point too, I basically agreed with the Lord. I told him that whatever you want me to do, I'll do it, even if I have to be single the rest of my life, right? I'm ready to stop
Okay.
searching for my wife if you want me to serve a greater purpose.
Mhm.
So I had
Okay.
already committed myself to that spiritual mission. And so my first endeavor when I had that mission was to return to Colombia. I had lived there for 2 years. I loved Colombia. The people are wonderful. I had a lot of friends down there, but I had been away from Colombia now for, at that point, about 14 years or so. And I wanted to go back. And now I knew that there were street kids there and I knew I could do something for them if I could get back there. So I worked for a summer, 2000. I worked, saved money, and then I was ready to leave. And so to go to Colombia, there's two ways to go. I could have flown. It would have been a safer way to go, but I'm an adventurer, you know.
Of course you are.
I can add buses and things. I've been through Central America many times, hitchhiking and taking buses. So I thought it'd be an adventure again to travel overland through Mexico and Central America again. So that was I thought I might save a few dollars that way too. You know, I didn't know what was coming, but
Right.
it would be a good adventure, an incredible adventure, because for the first 2 weeks that I was on the road, traveling to Mexico, this is late December. The Lord is blessing me. Incredible things are happening. I feel the Spirit, and I'm just anxious to get down to Colombia. And I go through a city called Puebla, Mexico. The reason I went there was because there's a shelter there for street kids. It's called Juconi. It's an acronym, Juntos con los Niños. It means together with the children. And it's a shelter that BYU was affiliated with. They had gone down to examine. They were providing some help to the director down there. So I had that address. So I stopped on my journey down to Mexico. I stopped in at Juconi, talked to the director, spent a few days visiting the shelter and the school, and I was very impressed with it. Now here's where the story takes a turn, because I could have stayed as long as I wanted in Puebla at that point, but I was eager to get on my way to Colombia. And so I'm staying with a lovely family in Puebla, and I could have spent another night there and left in the morning, but I just felt this impulse. I felt this prodding to leave that evening to take a night bus. So the next big city from Puebla is Oaxaca. It's in southern Mexico. So I thought,
Okay.
I'll take a night bus. I like to travel at night and I could sleep on the bus, so on and so on.
Right.
So I took the bus, and it's about a 4-hour drive down to Oaxaca. It's a city in southern Mexico. It's very famous. It's a Maya city with a lot of Mayan Indians and cultures. So I arrived early in the morning. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning. So I've got several hours to wait.
Mm-hmm.
But also I wanted to visit some sites in Oaxaca. There's Monte Alban, is ancient ruins, Indian ruins in the outside of Oaxaca. I wanted to visit. I've been there a couple times, but it's an incredible place to visit. So I thought, I'll wait till morning. I'll go there. So Now, I'm sitting in the bus station, middle of the night, nothing to do. I'm just sitting there reading. And what happened was I noticed these two young ladies come in. Obvious to me, they were not Mexican or Hispanic. They were light skinned, white. They looked like they could be American or European. So I thought this might be an opportunity to speak to someone in English, whatever. And so I see them talking and they're laughing. They're so happy. They're just so cheerful. I thought, oh man. And so I go back to reading. And then the next time I look up and I see them, they're crying. Both of them are crying and they're hugging each other. And so I get more than curious. I'm concerned. What's going on? First thought was they're probably saying goodbye to each other because they probably have to separate. And that was the first.
Right.
But then as I'm looking at them, no, they're not expressing joy. They're expressing grief and sadness. Something has gone wrong. And so I walk up to the girls and I say, do you speak English? Yes, little English. And I found out that they were from France. And so I say, what happened? He said, I was robbed. I was robbed. And one girl says, I was robbed. Now I know what it's like to get robbed, and it's a terrible feeling. And so
Right.
what happened is that they had been a victim of a type of a scam. It's a common where there'll be two thieves. One thief will kind of distract you, talk to you, and you won't be looking at your backpack. And the other thief will come up and steal it. So that's where it happened, day pack. And so her pack was gone, her backpack was gone, and it had everything valuable in it. Her money, passport, plane ticket, whatever, credit cards. It was in there and it was gone. And so, of course, I wanted to help them as best I could. I didn't know what to do, what kind of advice to offer, whatever. And I'm thinking, maybe the thief had just taken the backpack and just going to take some things out and throw it away nearby, whatever. But here's what I did. I just felt the need to pray. So this is where the miracle begins now, because I kind of go back to my backpack for a minute and I close my eyes and I start praying. And the prayer was one of the most urgent prayers I've ever uttered in my life. I've had some powerful prayers I've had to pray for help and things. But this time I was praying for somebody else. And I just poured out my heart. Says, Lord, these girls are in a bad situation right now. They need help. I don't know what to do. I mean, please help these girls to get her backpack back, whatever. Now, as soon as the prayer was over, within a few minutes, something strange happened. And a man got off, came into the bus station. I think he'd gotten off a bus that had just arrived. I don't know if he's Mexican or what, but he was Hispanic. He's a short little guy, maybe 4 feet tall, 4.5 feet. And he's carrying a great big, huge duffel bag. So he's coming to the station. Now, I should say the station was very crowded. I mean, there were a lot of people. There was a lot of hustle and bustle. It's dirty and noisy. But he comes along and he sees the girls crying. He goes up to the girl and says, what's the matter? Why are you crying? And the girl explains to him that she was robbed and lost her backpack with everything in it. And he starts talking to her like, well, what was in the bag? What did you have? Now, at this point, I'm feeling very annoyed because I think this is a total stranger. There's nothing he could possibly do to help these girls. He's just being a nuisance, right? I was feeling like if anybody can help him, it's me. It's not going to be this total little stranger here.
Okay.
But he got an idea of what had been taken and he leaves. And so after he leaves, I tell the girls, well, let's go around the bus station, look in the garbage cans, and just see if anything is maybe with any chance. See if
Yeah.
he took a few things and left the others. Small chance of that.
Right.
But I stayed in the bus station while the two girls went around the bus station looking. They come back in after 10, 20 minutes, whatever. They hadn't found anything. And so we're not sure what to do next. But then guess what? Suddenly, this little man comes back into the bus station. And guess what he's carrying? He's carrying the rucksack. He's carrying.
Wow.
He puts
Okay.
it down and then the girl starts taking out her things. wallet, passport, credit cards, everything is in it. Only thing missing
Wow.
is a camera. The only camera is missing, but everything else is
Wow.
there. So he's, where did you find this? What he said? Well, so he explains. He says he was walking to the downtown. Now it's about a mile from the bus station to the downtown, and halfway between the bus station and there's a city park. So he said he was walking through the city park, and he saw the backpack lying there. And what are the chances of that?
Right.
Well,
Wow.
so there's miracles already beginning, whatever.
Right.
But it was like, what? And I even splurted out, this is a miracle. This is a miracle right now. This amazing thing had happened. Okay, so there were these two French girls. One was tall. I think her name was Amel, and there was a shorter girl too. But so the girl that got her backpack back, all the stuff back, is relieved, and now
Yes.
she's
Good
going to
for
call her
her.
family and says, "Hey, I found it. I have everything. I can go back home now." So the girls were going to return to France the next day. That's the thing. Okay, so the short girl now, she's still crying, and so we asked, "What's your problem? And why are you so sad?" He says, "Well, I have to fly back to France tomorrow from Mexico City, and I can't get a bus ticket to Mexico City. There's no tickets from Mexico City tonight. So I don't know how I'm going to get to the airport, whatever." And I didn't know what the solution. So whatever. But the little man, he says, no problem, señoritas, no problem. You buy a ticket to Puebla, and in Puebla, you can buy lots of tickets to Mexico City. Buses go every hour. Okay. I didn't know this. And so this man simultaneously solved two critical problems for these two girls. Okay. And wow, it's amazing that God could answer prayers within a few minutes.
Yeah.
Mr. Angel, right?
Yeah, I like what James says, and it says, "The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much." And I think it was a direct answer to a prayer at that moment. Now, the story could end there, but it doesn't, because there's a little bit that followed after that experience. So the girls didn't need to take their buses until later in the day. They were going to wait till morning. We waited until the sun came up. We went downtown. We bought breakfast. We said our farewells. They had a nice little time. They were very happy, and they were just so overwhelmed that things were
Right.
good now at this point. So meanwhile, I say, well, now it's time to go up to Monte-Alban to go visit again. So I get on the city bus and I go up the mountain to Monte-Alban. And I get off the bus and I'm going. And as I'm walking in toward the entrance of Monte-Alban, guess who's standing there on the grass? The little man with the big duffel bag. Now, I thought this is a pretty profound coincidence. And what are the chances I would see him again in the same day?
Right.
So we did a little bit of chitter chat. I don't speak much Spanish, but I can understand him. And that's why I asked him, "Why are you here?" And he says, "I like to come here whenever I'm in Oaxaca." So I didn't proceed to ask him more. I wish I knew his whole story now. Here's what's I take a lot of pictures. I'm a photographer. I take pictures of people all over the world. I have pictures, chronicle almost every experience I have. I never took any pictures of this man, either in the bus station or in Monte-Alban. And afterwards, I'm kicking, oh my heck, what? Who was this guy? Who was this guy? So I have my own theories as to who he might have been, but he was certainly an angel in physical form, whatever. So he was an answer to a prayer. Okay.
Very
That's
cool.
amazing.
And so that's the end of that story, but it kind of like a prelude to the next story is, okay, when I finally got down to Guatemala, I did get robbed. I lost $800. That changed because I didn't make it to Colombia. I had to turn around and go back to Mexico, back to the United States. But then a month later, I met my wife in Provo, Utah, at a single adult ward. And I tell people, she cost me $800, but she was worth it. It's a real miracle. But even in that process of going through that heartbreaking thing, because I felt I had earned this money and it was God's money and it was designated for a righteous purpose. So when I was robbed, I had to humble myself and say, "Lord, it's your money. You can do with it as you wish. I just wish it was going to the kids instead of to a thief, but maybe you have other purposes." I had to humble myself and just go back to the United States with the reassurance that I was still serving God's purpose, bigger purpose, right? And it did. And so
Little
I
no,
can't be doing what I'm doing right now without Margarita. I just,
yeah,
she's,
he was answering your prayers to find your wife.
yeah.
Tell us more of how you say you rescued the kid in Mexico. So what does that look like?
Well, there's three aspects to helping to rescue street kids. Okay. There's three phases of it. There's the actual rescue of kids that are in danger, at risk kids, kids on the street, homeless, sleeping, eating out of the garbage, whatever. And the only way you can really rescue them is if you're a social worker or a psychologist or somebody who's trained in that field. Okay. That's not my field. Yeah, I can befriend them. I can talk to them and give them food, but I don't rescue them in that aspect. The second phase is getting them into a facility where they can get rehabilitation, um, drug rehabilitation foremost, because all these kids are substance abusers. They all smoke or drink or use drugs of some kind or other. So they all have to get into a program where they can overcome their addictions. Okay. And in the process of that, then the shelter that my wife and I help down there, it provides them with public education, which is really rare because poor people in Mexico, they can't afford public education. They have to buy their own materials, school supplies, uniforms, and so on. And if you're a single mom earning $1 or 2 a day, you can't afford to send your kid to school. And so the shelter down there provides a safe environment where these kids can get cleaned up and then they can get education and also job skill training. They learn they learn baking. We went down there, we were having an acting class. They were doing all kinds of different things. So the kids can expand beyond their circumstances and see a brighter future. Then the third phase or step would be encouragement. They need to be incentivized and encouraged to live a healthy, decent, wholesome life, to get married when the time is right, to be prepared to raise their kids and find a good career, so on and so forth. So empowerment, that's what I'm looking for. So these kids are human beings. They have the spirit of God in them. They're all worth and precious to God. God knows what their abilities and aptitudes are and what their future could be. And so these two phases are where I come in. I can help kids through the process of rehabilitation, although it really does also require social workers and people trained in that field, right? But when it comes to empowerment, I'm a role model. I can show them,
Yeah.
your life has value and you can have a beautiful future. And I have all these examples I can provide them with. I mean, I've worked with kids who have overcome the odds, who are now living a successful life and they're happy and they're productive. So it's not impossible. I see so many of these miracles. So these kids have a chance to see real miracles happen, in their lives.
That's incredible. So I know we were talking about your previous miracle, like witnessing and being part of the miracles. We're talking about the kids. I've noticed through this entire time you've been speaking, you brought up faith and belief. And one thing I felt when I was reading your bio was that you mentioned faith, and I took a second and I studied up on the difference between belief because belief is all intellectual, right? It's just something we believe, but that's where it stops. It's very limiting. While faith is carrying upon, and it's an active word. Um, and so when you have faith, something that happens is you become empowered, which I love that word, and you build character because you have faith. It always follows the miracle. And then once faith comes before the miracle. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. And then the
Working,
miracle follows. And then your character builds and it continues and it continues and it continues. And so it almost sounds like you have to have faith in what you do to affect these kids.
yes,
Is that correct?
yes, yes.
So, how do you keep having faith when you are witnessing cycles of substance abuse and these conditions? And how do you continue to grow with that?
Well, to use Jesus Christ as a perfect example, of course, look at his life. Jesus went about doing good. And does that mean he was cheerful every moment or whatever? Um, he also was a man of sorrows. He saw the extreme suffering and he cried. He wept for Lazarus. I mean, so he was able to be both beings at the same time. He was able to be ultimately happy and cheerful and positive while also being sad and sorrowful. Okay. And I've had that experience. You do both. My heart breaks for the suffering in the world right now, for the wars in Africa and Sudan and whatever. I think about it, I hear about it in the news. Devastating, but I don't carry that woe begone attitude throughout the day. I'm a cheerful person. And as I go around with people, I can see the tragedies, the suffering, but I also see the goodness. And these people, the people that we help, are so kind and generous and cheerful. I mean, they're meek. That's the definition of meekness. To carry your suffering and sorrow with a happy heart, I think, right? Now, to go back to finding my purpose and think that was the most joyful thing that ever happened. When the Lord told me what to do, I was so relieved because I've been searching for decades. I didn't know what to do. And suddenly I know it's clear. Now, and here's the miracle that transformed my life at that period. So prior to receiving that revelation, I had been traveling the world for 30 years, robbed multiple times, injured, stabbed, shot, choked, almost beaten to death in Lithuania just a year before the journey.
Wow.
Things, or at least a dozen close calls where I could have died or been seriously injured.
Well,
But now, after having started my mission, having served the Lord with all my heart, in 23 years now, 24 years of doing that, I have not had a single bad experience. I've had close calls, but the Spirit has always guided me. And there have been times the Spirit says, "Don't mess with that kid. Don't go near him. That's bad. He's not going to respond to you," whatever. Things like that. And when I'm serving the Lord, he protects me. And that's where a big part of my faith. I say, okay, I'm doing my part, and your part is to protect me. And the Lord has protected me. It's been incredible. To give you one example, and there's many examples, but here's one that happened about 5 years ago. My wife and I were doing a dental project in Mexico City for these kids that live in a squatter camp. And we had use of a dental clinic that was there. And these kids, they never get outside their really ramshackle community. And so we put them on buses and things, took them to the clinic. And it was like a 3-4 day event that we're doing things. I wasn't involved in the dental procedure. My wife does that. And we had dentists that were there. I'm outside playing with the kids. Outside the clinic, there was a building with 2 floors, and there was a terrace, a walk space, with marble tiles on the ground, whatever. And so I'm playing with the kids and just making them laugh and think I'm good at that. They call me Tio Oso.
That's cute.
And so, there was one little girl in particular, Nicole, just a real smart, choice little girl, just real talented. She was to dance and sing, whatever, precocious. And so playing with her, and I'm trying to get her to chase me. So incidentally, this day I'm wearing not shoes, but sandals. I've got sandals. I'm wearing, and I'm trying to get her. So she starts to run toward me, and I turn around and I go to run.
Oh,
So I did like you see on the cartoons, whatever. I fell straight down on my back. Now I weigh over 200 pounds, 250 pounds or so. I hit the bottom of my head, boom, hit that thing as hard could be. Now, in the normal circumstances, I would have been knocked unconscious.
yeah.
I mean, it was nothing to soften the blow. I fell right on the ground on the thing. And as I'm going down thinking, bye-bye world, I'm dead. I'm gone.
Right.
But I hit the bottom, I open my eyes. Oh, I'm still alive. Start to get up and feel myself. Where are the broken bones?
Yeah.
Nothing. No injury at all. No bruises. Nothing. No. I should have had a concussion.
Really
I believe this was a miracle where the Lord
Protected you.
protected me from getting the injury falling on the ground. So, I mean, That wasn't a sort of danger where you have to watch out for that person, that guy's coming to rob you or shoot
Mhm.
you. It was just an everyday casual sort of event. I'm just playing with the kids. I never would have anticipated being in danger, harm's way, falling, having an injury. But
Right.
God was watching over every detail of that project. And there's many other stories like that I could tell. As a
Yeah, God is definitely in the detail. What would you tell someone who's struggling even getting through the day and having faith?
well, we understand that faith is not one thing covers all. It's not a panacea. It's a process. Faith is a part of the process of the gospel, the process of redemption, which includes repentance, learning. We learn line upon line, precept on precept. I mean, nobody is born with total faith or understanding. We develop it. When we're baptized 8 years old, do we have perfect faith at that point? No, we just believe what people are telling us. It's a belief. We have from that point on to develop faith as to who we are, what we can do with our belief and our faith. And it grows and it's exponential and it's endless. Faith has no limit. I think the sad thing is that people limit their knowledge or their understanding of faith. They think that faith is some sort of little superficial thing when really it's very profound power. It really does govern our actions and the results of our actions too. If we're doing something for a righteous purpose, that's when God, his angels can intercede, right? If we're doing something we shouldn't be doing, he's not going to be there for us.
Right. Okay. So I like what you said that it's a bunch of little actions. It's having faith is, I believe, confused with belief, right? It's
Mhm.
beliefs just stays stagnant. President Boyd K. Packer, he taught that too many people want to see the end from the beginning. He quotes Ether, emphasizing that sometimes we must walk to the edge of the light and take a few steps into the darkness, and you will find that the light will appear and move ahead of you. This suggests that stepping out in faith, even when you don't see the full path, is part of how faith grows. So it sounds like that's literally what you've taken into your life.
Right.
Traveling and not taking the easy path because you could have flown from one area to another. You could have picked a career that gave you could have done a million different things. It sounds like you're one that likes to travel near the edge a
I like,
little bit.
I like to learn because travel provides some of the richest opportunities for learning because you're exposed to the unknown all the time and you have to deal with difficulty and also danger and uncertainty constantly.
I love that. I love that it definitely comes across that you know who you are, your identity and your purpose. And I could definitely feel that. I could definitely feel the spirit guiding you to your mission. So thank you for sharing that. Oh,
I can share one more little thing that kind of demonstrates what you just said about Boyd K. Packer walking to the edge of the light and certainty. So for the first several years of our marriage, as Margaret and I are doing projects in Mexico, dental projects and so on, most of the projects only had a few volunteers. We're up to about a dozen people. We could handle about a dozen. Even that was hard, handling people, all of the logistics that go into it. But then the opportunity came in 2015 to do a project in Tijuana. And that project, I won't go into much detail because it was really a big, big thing, but I advertised for it. Tijuana had just completed their temple in 2015, 2014. They were
okay.
going to dedicate, so they were having an open house. So I organized a project to help an orphanage down there. And I advertised to the students at Utah State and at BYU that I'm going down looking for volunteers.
Okay.
And I got so many responses. I got probably 70 responses total. Whatever.
Wow.
We ended up taking 44. Now I thought,
Woo.
if God gives them to me, he'll provide. He'll provide. Well, that was very naive because I never conducted a group that big before, especially in a place where I had never done a project before. Totally kidding me.
Okay.
But we go down there. It was like 6 vehicles. We were vans, 3 vans and everything. Anyway, I was overwhelmed because I don't know how to take care of logistics like feeding people 3 times a day and this and that, whatever. Fortunately, thank God, there were two sisters, two mothers on the project who knew how to handle big family.
Good for them. Good for you.
Everybody fed. Without them, I would have been. But anyway, for the 5 days, 6 days we were down there, I basically had to turn things over to other people. You do what you know how to do, because I don't know how to tell you what to do. We were learning as we were going. I was totally responsible for everybody's welfare. And I thought, Lord, their lives are in my hand. I have to make sure they get back home safely right now. And please protect me. But long story short, the project ended well. We all got home. Okay, and long story short, it wasn't until I got home, project is completed, I broke down. I started crying, sobbing.
Oh.
I can't believe I got through this challenge, But anyway, that's how it turned out. Most of the projects since that time have been small.
Uh-huh.
The reason that people wanted to go on that project was get the open house. They wanted to be at the temple. But I needed to be more judicious and decide who actually needed to go or whatever. But anyway, it was a learning experience. But that was a testimony of faith, because I really did walk into the darkness. For a whole week, I was in that darkness, one step at a time, wondering
I'm
what.
sure that pushed your limits, but you
Yeah.
learned a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, my wife is back home just biting her nails. She
For
was.
our listeners and viewers, how can they help? If they're listening, they feel inspired, what can they do to help your project?
Well, not everybody's qualified or is interested in helping kids as I wish they were. I wish all people had that deep love for marginalized kids. I mean, everybody loves their own kids or
Right.
relatives, but kids that are dirty, sick, deformed, whatever, it's a little harder. So having an interest, a genuine interest, passion, and compassion for these kids, it's a big thing. And then contact me. I have all kinds of information. I've made videos. I have many documentaries I've put on my YouTube page. I have a channel, and you can go and
What is that? Hey, what is that channel?
my name is Neil Millman channel on YouTube.
Okay.
And there's a lot of different playlists because projects in Mexico City, projects in Tijuana, projects in Colombia, and different other places.
Then we can also put that in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
Do you have fund to help support your trips?
So we are raising money right now. I have a Venmo account. If you want to do Venmo, it's at Neil-Millman.
Okay.
That's one. We're raising as much money as we can right now, for, thousands of dollars, hopefully, to help with the kids in Tijuana for Christmas. I'm going to go down there as Santa Claus. These kids don't have fathers who don't have access to, programs and things we enjoy. So it's going to be a lot of fun. This is one thing I'll say. I've done probably 24 projects so far in the last 23 years in Mexico. In every single project, there have been miracles. There's been great success, but invariably, there are additional needs that we see, that we discover, that we don't have money for, that we just
Right.
don't have money to help. If I had $1 million, I would be able to spend it all. Believe me, there's needs down there. Whenever people feel good about donating, giving, we'll use it all. I get nothing out of it because in fact, a lot of my own money goes into the
I believe
project.
that, yeah. We'll have all this information on the show notes, and Haley will put it up on the website for anyone that's interested in helping out and furthering all of everything you do. So
Thank you so
thank
much.
you. Neil, is there one final big takeaway that you would like to leave for our listeners?
I'm grateful for the opportunity to experience the love of God through action, not through. I mean, it's good enough to wear a CTR ring, go to church, and pay your tithing. That's all part of the gospel, but it's kind of a elementary part of the gospel. The real gospel of Jesus Christ is service to the poor and the needy. Okay, and what does Jesus say? Inasmuch you've done it unto the least of these, you've done it unto me.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we all be anxious to serve Christ by serving our fellow man? I mean, for me, that's a no-brainer, but I think we have to learn how to do it step by step. Okay.
Right.
Absolutely.
Thank you for setting such a great example and teaching us where you can go if you take those little steps of faith. So thank you.
Incidentally, now I have written a lot of my other stories of my travels, how I survived incredible things. They're not published yet. So I'm in the process of getting some of my books or stories published. So people, if they write to my email, I'll be happy to send them.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And if we're following you on Facebook,
Definitely.
keep tabs on your progress with that. Cause that is something we'd love to read. Mhm.
God is a God of miracles.
Yes.
Jesus Christ is the great magician.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for spending your time with us. And we just can't thank you enough for your example.
Thank you. God bless you all. Keep the faith and keep interviewing good people. Good luck.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on Latter day Miracles. If you have a miracle story that you feel inspired to share, we'd love to hear from you. Contact us on our website at latterdaymiracles.net or message us on social media.
Until next time, keep your heart open to the miraculous and may you feel the presence of angels in your everyday life.